In 1886, a pharmacist named John Pemberton walked into Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta and sold a brand new drink for just 5 cents a glass. That drink was Coca-Cola, and it started life as nothing more than a soda fountain treat. By the 1950s, soda fountains had chrome counters, marble tops, and swivel stools in almost every small town in America. Behind the counter stood a soda jerk, someone who could mix dozens of drinks from memory while pulling syrup pump handles with a sharp, jerking motion. Then something happened. Drugstore chains bought up the independent shops, and one by one, these fountains disappeared, taking dozens of drinks and treats with them. Today I'm showing you 25 of these forgotten soda fountain treats, why they vanished, and the real economic reason the chains killed them off. This story starts way earlier than the 1950s, back in the early 1800s, when people believed drinking artificially carbonated mineral water was actually good for your health. Pharmacists started adding flavored syrup to that carbonated water to make their medicinal tonics taste better, and slowly, this turned into a fixture of everyday American life by the early 1900s. Then came Prohibition in the 1920s. With saloons shut down, the soda fountain became the only legal place for teenagers and adults to gather and socialize, and that's a huge part of why the format exploded during that decade. Many fountains were built right into pharmacies because early phosphate drinks were first sold as digestive aids. Acid phosphate was mixed into syrup and water to treat headaches and indigestion, and people loved the fizzy, tart taste, whether it actually helped their stomach or not. Let's start with the drink that still confuses people to this day because its name makes absolutely no sense. It's called the egg cream, a Brooklyn and New York specialty made from milk, chocolate syrup, and seltzer. Despite the name, there is no egg in it, and traditionally, no cream either. Historians still debate the exact syrup formula and true origin of the egg cream, which only adds to its mystery as one of the most talked about lost soda fountain drinks. Next is a drink named after something you'd order at a bar, but it never had a drop of alcohol in it. The Lime Ricky combined lime juice, sweet syrup, and seltzer. It was named for its resemblance to an alcoholic Ricky cocktail and became especially popular during Prohibition when people wanted that cocktail feeling without breaking the law. Some of these treats weren't drinks at all. They were actual company brands built for one single purpose. The Cherry Smash and Orange Crush started as early bottled and fountain syrup brands, made specifically to be dispensed through drugstore soda fountain machines. One of these drinks was bright green, born in Chicago, and tied directly to Prohibition, just like the Lime Ricky. Green River was invented in 1919 by the Schoenhofen Brewery as a non-alcoholic Prohibition-era product. It fell off the map after the brewery closed in 1950, but it survives today as a nostalgia item people still search for. This next treat took a classic float and made it even richer, and it's probably one you've never heard of. The Brown Cow was a root beer float with chocolate syrup added on top, turning a simple drink into a dessert in a glass. Now here's one that sounds more like a science experiment than a drink, and honestly, it kinda was. The Catawba Flip mixed vanilla ice cream, egg, grape juice, and seltzer, all shaken or blended together into one strange but beloved fountain classic. Two treats made up some of the most popular orders of the entire 1920s, and they both trace back to that same medicinal idea we talked about earlier. Chocolate and cherry phosphates were acid phosphate drinks, born from the idea that fizzy, tart syrup mixtures could help your digestion, even though people really just ordered them because they tasted good. Not every lost treat had a fancy name. Some were just simple, perfect classics made completely by hand. Black and white shakes and floats, malted milkshakes, and hand-dipped sundaes were all made to order one at a time by a trained soda jerk standing right in front of you. So if all of this was so popular, why did nearly all of it disappear? The answer comes down to money, and it starts decades before the 1950s even began. Syrup companies, and later Coca-Cola and Pepsi directly, gave pharmacists free dispensing equipment in exchange for exclusive advertising and product placement. That's part of what got soda fountains into nearly every single drugstore in the first place. That same free equipment became a liability once drugstores were bought up into national chains during the 1960s and 70s. A trained soda jerk mixing drinks by hand, one glass at a time, simply didn't scale the way bottled soda and prepackaged ice cream did for a growing national chain. Industry retrospectives note something interesting too. Once sodas were available bottled on store shelves, most customers were already brand loyal from their years at the fountain counter. That meant the companies had very little financial incentive left to keep investing in the slow, labor-heavy fountain format when a bottle did the same job for less money. There's one more detail about these old fountain drinks that most nostalgia videos leave out completely, and it's worth mentioning carefully. Some very early fountain drinks, back in the 19th century, incorporated stimulants like caffeine, and in some cases even cocaine, marketed purely for their pep. This reflects genuinely different, unregulated ingredient standards from that much earlier era, and by the 1950s, additives like that were long gone from mainstream soda fountains completely. So what happened to all this equipment once the fountains shut their doors for good? Some of it became incredibly valuable. A 1950s Coca-Cola branded stainless steel fountain sold at a Barrett-Jackson auction in 2023 for roughly $80,000, proving just how much nostalgia is worth to the right collector. Restored fountain equipment, original glassware, and old syrup dispensers remain highly sought after among collectors, and the small number of independent fountains and museums still operating today. Let's go back to where this whole story started, because the origin of the soda fountain itself is stranger than most people realize. In the early 1800s, drinking artificially carbonated mineral water was considered a genuine health trend, almost like a wellness fad you'd see online today. Pharmacists added flavored syrups to that carbonated water specifically to make their medicinal tonics taste better, and that small decision eventually grew into an entire American institution. And remember that 5-cent glass John Pemberton sold at Jacob's Pharmacy back in 1886? That single soda fountain drink went on to become one of the biggest brands on the entire planet. Coca-Cola never forgot its soda fountain roots either, which is exactly why it became one of the companies handing out free dispensing equipment to pharmacies decades later. So by the time the 1950s golden era hit its peak, this entire culture, the phosphates, the floats, the flips, and the fountains themselves had already been building for well over 100 years. And in less than 2 decades after that peak, most of it would be gone, replaced by bottles, chains, and pre-packaged convenience. Think about that for a second. A soda jerk could mix dozens of drinks completely from memory, using nothing but skill and a quick, practiced hand on the syrup pump. That entire skill set, built over generations, was replaced almost overnight once a bottle could do the same job faster and cheaper for a national chain. From the mysterious egg cream to the Prohibition-era lime Ricky to the strange Catawba flip, every single one of these treats tells the same economic story in a different flavor. They were popular because they were personal, made one glass at a time by someone who knew exactly how you liked it. And they disappeared for the exact same reason, because personal doesn't scale, and a national drugstore chain isn't built around one soda jerk's memory. This is really a story about what gets lost every time a small local business gets absorbed into something bigger and more efficient. The soda fountain didn't fail because people stopped loving these drinks. It failed because the economics of hand-mixing one glass at a time couldn't survive corporate consolidation. And that raises a question worth sitting with. What other everyday American habits from the 1950s got quietly replaced the exact same way, for the exact same financial reasons? Because soda fountains weren't the only small, local, handmade institution that vanished once big chains figured out how to mass-produce the same experience for less money. Diners, corner drugstores, and independent ice cream parlors all followed a strikingly similar path during that same era of American consolidation. I actually cover exactly what replaced these local businesses and which surprising industries survived that same wave of chain consolidation completely untouched in another video on this channel. If you liked seeing how something as simple as a soda fountain drink connects to Prohibition, 5-cent Coca-Cola, and multi-$1,000 auctions, you'll want to see that next part of the story. So click on that video next, because it picks up exactly where this one leaves off, and it explains the bigger pattern behind all of it. You'll see why some small American businesses from this era completely disappeared, while a tiny few managed to survive right into the modern day. It's the same economic story, just told through a completely different set of forgotten American institutions. Go watch it now, and you'll never look at an old drugstore or a bottle of Coke the exact same way again.